When it comes to modifying the charts, the first thing I want to show you is the resizing. So all you have to do is go ahead and select the chart. You get the circles, the resizing handles. If you want to resize it both horizontally and vertically at the same time, then go ahead and hover over the bottom right-hand corner resizing handle until you get arrows pointing in opposite directions. Then you can go ahead and click and drag it up to shrink it or to collapse it in. But if you hold down the Shift key, it'll keep it proportional, meaning that it won't do it more horizontal than vertical from its original size here. And so if I go ahead and leave it like that, let go, great. If you want to do it numerically, then rather freehand, clicking and dragging, then with it selected, come up on its related contextual format tab, go to the size group, and there you go. So you can see that there's the height of it and there's the width. So the height, if I type in 3 and hit enter, it doesn't keep it proportional. It just stretches the height. So if I don't like that, I can go ahead and hit undo and come over here and click on its expandable dialog box button to open up the task pane. And you can see that locked aspect ratio is not checked by default. So it doesn't keep it locked in proportion. So if I change the height and I come up here and I delete it and I type in 3, with it locked, it'll update the width to keep it in proportion to its original size, but just making it bigger. So 3, hit enter, then it goes from 5 to 6.28. Go ahead and close out. And then next, if you want to change the chart type, if you no longer want a column chart, you want to update that and change it to something else, you can do it one of a couple of ways. Either come up here and click on the Design tab, go to the Type group, click on Change Chart Type, and then go ahead and choose from one of the categories like bar, and select one. Well, I don't get too many options. Go ahead and click on it to select it, click Okie dokie, and I'm going to undo that because I don't like that. Or you can go ahead and right-click above the column labels in the plot area. When you right-click, you can change the chart type and go back to the same window and then choose and then click OK. I'm going to keep it the same here. And then next we got styles. So up here on the Design tab, you got the chart styles. You can click on the More button to see more of it. And if you like the style but not the color, then go ahead and click on the colors to choose a different color as we talked about in the previous training video. And then let me go ahead and click off. If you want to change the color, not for the entire chart, but just a series, like the MP3 series that's green, with it selected, and then you can go ahead and right-click on it, and you got the fill, click on the drop-down arrow, and choose a color like blue, a darker blue, and you can see that you changed the series, updated it, so we can do it individually. Let me go ahead and hit undo. And speaking of which, how about the labels? Now we talked a little bit about it in the previous training video, and we did it for all the columns in our column chart, which as you recall to do that, let me go ahead and click off so we don't have a series selected. You can come over here and click on the chart elements to open it up, or come up here on the Design tab to the chart layout and click on Add Chart Elements. Brings up the same list, basically. And then we go down to Data Labels, and then when I hover over it, over in the chart it gives us a preview, so I can go ahead and check it to accept it or uncheck it. Now that's for every single column. If you don't want it for every single column, but like let's say just for the book series, go ahead and select the book series. Just select any one of the columns for the book series and it selects all the columns in that series. And then you can go ahead and go up and over to Data Labels and it just adds it to the selection, in this case the books. So check it, now it's added to the books. And if you don't want that, let's go ahead and uncheck it. You just want to focus on one, like the highest one out of all of them. I think it's this one. Hover over it, the value is 975. Go ahead and click on it. It selects the series for MP3s, but then click on it again, and it isolates it to just that column. Then we can go ahead and right-click on it. If you want to add a data label there, that works. Or just come over here with the chart element still open and check that, and it adds it just there. And if you want more options, again, hover over Data Labels in the Chart Elements window, click on the triangle to open it up, inside, outside, or go to More Options. Let's go ahead and do Data Callout and then More Options to open up the task pane. And let me go ahead and hover over the border of it so I can click and drag it. And you can see how it's tied to it. Very nice. Click and drag the resizing handle, make it bigger. And in fact, let's go to the Format tab. Let's do a shape fill, make it kind of, maybe instead of a shape fill like red accent 2 lighter 80%, what you can do, you can go ahead and do shape style for the call out. Maybe that's pretty cool. And you can also change the shape outline. We can do something dark green, so you can go nuts on that. You can also double click really fast to select the text within it. And you know that you have the text selected when you see the mini formatting toolbar, so you can make it bold. Well, okay, it just changed July, so let's click and drag it again so I can go ahead and make it, click on it to make it all bold again. You want to make sure you got it all selected, and then you can change the size of it, make it larger, change the font color to something else. In any case, let me go ahead and click off of it and then reselect it again. And come over here and click on Label Options in the task pane and click on Label Options to expand it. And right here, you can show the leader lines by checking on it. And this already has a line to it, but if you have a label, that's not a call out here. In fact, if you right-click on it and you want to go to Change Data Label Shapes, hey, there's another option here. How about if we just go to a rectangle? That way it loses the callout tag or the little funnel that goes down to it, and so now you can see the leader here, so you can get rid of that. So you can go, okay, July 975, which column does that go to? Well, it's probably this one because that's the highest one. In any case, you can just go ahead and eliminate the guesswork and say that you want to show the leader lines. Now remember, what I do to one, I can do to all. I just have to select all of them by selecting one. It selects the entire data series, and then I can go ahead and right click and do the same thing. And then I can go ahead and, let me close out of here, go to Chart Elements and uncheck Data Labels, check Data Labels, so I can update it for all of them and not just the one. And then go ahead and click on the triangle, get more options, brings up the task pane, show the leaders. Yes, so if I go ahead and click and drag one up, you can see that it leads right to it since it's not right next to it. Cool. And then as we did before, if you want to focus on one in the series, then go ahead and with it selected, choose your fancy shape style, or with it selected, hit the delete key on the keyboard, and then that way we don't have to focus on one, or maybe this one, hit the delete key, maybe just the first three, then the last one's over here. Let's go ahead and close out of that. And then next, how about if we want to go ahead and move our chart? I'm not talking about just moving it around, which by the way, if you click and drag the plot area, you can actually move it within the area of the chart. So let's go ahead and hit undo. Instead of dragging the plot area, unless of course you intend to do that, go to the outer chart area. You can see in the pop-up it says chart area. Then go ahead and click and drag. I'm not talking about moving the chart around within the same spreadsheet, but how about to another spreadsheet? You can cut and paste or copy and paste, or if you want the chart to take up an entire spreadsheet, go ahead and right-click on the chart and you go down to Move Chart. You can move it as an object in another worksheet, like let's go over to Sheet 2, click Okie dokie. There it is in Sheet 2, or right-click on it here, move the chart, and say that you want it as a new sheet, and we'll just call it the Spiffy Chart Sheet. So it'll create a new worksheet, and that chart will take up the entire worksheet called the Spiffy Chart Sheet. Click Okie dokie. Hooey! That's one spreadsheet. Right-click it here, but keep in mind you've got the plot area, so you want to go just above it to get the chart area, because you get two different shortcut menus. And in the chart area, just right up close to the top, then you can come down here, move the chart, and we can go back to it as an object in our Sheet 1. Click Okie dokie. It deletes the Spiffy Chart Sheet and it puts it right back, well, almost to where we began. Let's go ahead and not click and drag it in the plot area, but come up here to the chart area, and then we can click and drag so you can actually move the entire chart. And then finally, if you want to modify your data, what you see in the chart, come up here on the Design tab to the Data group, and we've got our Select Data. Click on it, and you can see the current data range. You can see the marching ants is that range over there. And if you don't want it to be that range or some other range, then with it selected, go ahead and click and drag and select something else. And then right now, you can see when I click and drag this down, it's just going to include books. And if I want it to include everything else again, go ahead and click and drag. And then you get the preview before you click OK and accept the change. You can do it that way, or if you don't want it permanent, you always want the option to be here for MP3s, but you don't want to see MP3s, just books, then just uncheck it here. And then go ahead and click Okie dokie. And then when you want to go back to seeing the MP3s, it's there. You just have to come back up here and click on Select Data and then check it. As opposed to coming back up here, if you only selected the range from sales to books, then you have to reselect it from sales over to MP3s to include books and the MP3s. And also, if you only want to see certain months within the range, you could go ahead and click on Edit the Range. and then say I don't want to focus on that, but that would be more permanent as opposed to clicking cancel and just saying, look, how about if I just go ahead and uncheck the last 3 months? That way when I want them back again, I can just go ahead and come back up here and do select data again. So you can see that September is the last month as opposed to December, the last 3 months, October, November, and December. Come back up here, select your data again, and then you can also, let's select books and click on edit. There's the series names, so it's in marching ants. Then there's the series values. You can go ahead and edit that and say don't include everything down here, but maybe just down to September. Just by clicking on the collapsible dialog box button, clicking and dragging to select it. I'm just going to stick with the original here, hit enter, but nonetheless you can make the changes there. Then the series name is pulling from that cell. When you see equals, it's pulling whatever's in that cell over. You can go ahead and overwrite that if you want, my spiffy books, then hit enter, and then go ahead and click OK, and there it is, my spiffy books. But keep in mind that if you update it over here in the table, it's not going to reflect it in the chart unless you go back to the chart, come back up here, click on select data, and click on edit. Delete it here and say that you want it to equal by selecting the cell here, B2, click okie dokie, click OK. So when you come up in here and you type in my spiffy books and hit enter, because it's linked to it, it updates it over here in the chart in the legend my spiffy books. Thanks for watching. Hey, as a quick reminder, if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also click on me and subscribe to my channel, get notified of the latest videos, and for only $2 a month, you can have access to all my Microsoft Office training videos.